so drunk. Okay, now just hating and hollering. Hi there, hello everyone. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Reading Reddit Stories with yours truly, Marissa. As you probably read in the title, we're doing another episode of Reading Reddit Stories about being drunk, getting drunk, drinking, you know. I really liked this episode last time because I obviously got to drink, but I also got to dive into the minds of people who either don't drink or are just really an asshole. Anyway, now that I've got my drink, it's your turn to get your snacks, get your drinks, get in your comfy chair, and let's get into the first story, shall we? Am I the asshole for accidentally giving vodka to a former alcoholic? Immediately, yes. But let's see what they're talking about. I was at a wedding and one of my cousins who has a very outgoing, joking personality was there. I haven't seen him for a long time, and back when I saw him more frequently, we used to drink a lot together. I was looking forward to getting thrashed at the wedding. We talked for a bit and I offered him a drink and he said something like, haha, I stopped drinking a while ago. Doctor told me I was on my way to getting cirrhosis. Now, anyone who knows him will know he was the biggest drinker, so I figured he was joking and he framed it humorously, so I joked around with him and told him, alright, I'll get a ginger ale for you. I ordered a vodka soda for us and he took a couple sips. He freaked out and said, wait, does this have alcohol in it? I laughed and told him it does and he ran off. Later on in the party, he and my uncle and some other people, including the bride, came up to me accusing me of giving him alcohol. I told them that I didn't think he was serious and should have been blunt with me. They kicked me out of the party and I told them to go fuck themselves and I left. One of my aunts did contact me and said they were harsh on me when I genuinely didn't know, but other people said I was a dick. I would have to say that you're still the asshole. It doesn't matter if you didn't know previously before attending the wedding, but he literally told you that he was going to get a medical condition if he did not stop drinking. So what in that made you think, oh, he's joking? Let's see what the comments say. You're the asshole. What about the sentence, I stopped drinking a while ago. Doctor told me I was on the way to getting cirrhosis. Sounds like a joke to you. I get that it's difficult to believe probably, or that you weren't sure, but the normal thing to do would simply be to ask him what he wants to drink or to ask him if he means this statement seriously. Someone responded to that saying, it's called playing it safe, OP. Try it. Someone says, the thing that made him a real asshole is when he realized his mistake, he just doubled down and told the other guy to fuck themselves. What the hell? Just apologize. I'm sorry is a whole ass sentence, people, literally. How do you accidentally put vodka in somebody's drink and then double down about it? Someone says, you're the asshole. He doesn't drink anymore and you told him you were getting him a non-alcoholic ginger ale. You're the mega alcohol. I was literally about to say you're the asshole times 1 million comment before you beat me to it. OP is even the asshole in how they're presenting this. Giving someone vodka on purpose is not an accident. Someone says, accidentally, you did it on purpose. You're the asshole for not believing him and somehow thinking you did this on accident. Wow. Someone responds to that saying, I accidentally decided that someone saying no to alcohol was a joke and accidentally lied to them about giving them alcohol, then accidentally got them alcohol. Dude, you're the asshole. It's not even a contest. I actually, now that I'm thinking about it, because I am a little tipsy, I wasn't thinking, who do they think is the asshole in this situation? I wonder who OP thinks is the asshole. And I don't think I'm going to find that answer because if you're not the asshole, who is? There's always an asshole in a situation for the most part. And in this case, it is you. But if you don't think it's you, who do you think it is? Do you think it's the cousin that said that they're not drinking alcohol? Do you think it's the bride and the rest of the people that came up to you saying that you were an asshole? Or do you think it's you? Think logically in this situation. Who's the asshole? And on that note, let's go to the next story. Am I the asshole for freaking out when our wife locked our son out of the house at night after he drank alcohol? I am 39, have a 16-year-old son with my wife, 40, female. This incident happened a few days ago and she's still mad at me. I was on a work trip, so my wife was home with our son. When I got back, I found out that he had been hanging out with his friends and they had convinced him to drink some beer and he got a little drunk. I'm not saying what he did was right, but him and I had a talk and it's fine. The problem is that when he came home and my wife found out about it, she was furious and kicked him out and refused to let him back in until the morning. He was begging for her to let him in, but she wouldn't. When I found out, I was furious. Regardless of what he did, she had made a slightly drunk teenager stay outside by himself at night. Something very bad could have happened to him. We had a huge argument about it. I asked her how the hell she thought that was okay. She just kept saying that it's her son's fault for drinking alcohol. My wife isn't really talking to me now, and my son isn't talking to his mom. I feel like I'm in the right, but maybe I'm not. Am I the asshole? No, I don't think you're the asshole. He is 16. I had drank a little alcohol in high school. 16 is about sophomore year. I don't think it would be wise, especially if I'm drunk, to lock me out the house at 16. I don't know what to do with myself. I'm just trying to go in and go to bed. My friends have peer pressured me. And this is where it becomes a thing, like, do you blame the victim? Because he had basically been pressured to drink with his friends, and now he's getting in trouble for being a victim, really, in this situation. I don't think that's okay. But let's see what the comments say. I'm sure they'll agree with me, though. Someone says, your wife denied your child shelter at night while he was intoxicated. She endangered your child, not the asshole. And I have to ask your wife the following. What the fuck is wrong with you? Very valid. I very much so agree. Someone responds to that saying, I saw a storytime video about a girl who was talking about how she sneaked out of her house at 16 through her bedroom window to attend her boyfriend's party. When she came back, the window was closed, and she thankfully reached out to her boyfriend, who has let her stay in his house for the night. Most of the comments were lighthearted, the kind you expect from a video of a telltale of a sneaky teen. I was flabbergasted. What possesses you to lock out a teen in the middle of the night because they were rebellious? They are teens. Of course they're going to be little shits with limits. But what is this kind of parenting? Denying them shelter means anything could happen to them. I hope CPS is going to be involved. I would never take away my children's shelter, because I think at the end of the day, as a mother, as a father, as a caregiver, as a guardian of a child, you are responsible for making sure your kids are fed, that they have clothes, that they have shelter and clean water. That's all you really have to take care of. And, you try to raise them to be a good human being anyway on top of that. Someone says, not the asshole. No matter if he was a little drunk or very drunk, he's a vulnerable minor, and I would not leave him outside. There are a lot of other ways of setting high expectations and disciplining a kid. Neglect is not one of them. You two need to talk and get on the same page as far as discipline goes, so you have a clear set of consequences and rules that you are both comfortable with. Someone responds to that saying, also, it's just a little drunk. I'm presuming this is in America, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this puritanical belief of absolute abstinence before 21 and drinking alcohol in any way is terrible and must be punished is absolutely ridiculous. I agree with that 100%. Introduce alcohol to teenagers responsibly and they are less likely to abuse it, or for God's sake, always let them know they can come home. For reference, in the UK, you can drink low alcohol beers and similar in a restaurant if eating and with an adult from 15. I'm sure there are similar rules across Europe. For me, I was always allowed to drink beer with my parents and would have one at home too occasionally. It meant I didn't go too mad when drinking at parties without adults. I will say for me, my experience with alcohol as a young lass, I really didn't drink until I was about maybe 20, like 19, 20 age when I was in college. But even now, obviously, I love to go out. I love to party. I love to drink. Honestly, I do love to drink, but I'm not going to abuse it. And in this case, especially, the kid wasn't even abusing alcohol, except for the fact that his friends pressured him to do it. That's not a good opportunity for learning. You've just kind of ruined it by showing him that he can't come to you in vulnerable situations. Take with that what you will. I would definitely not recommend that method of parenting. And you're not the asshole, but your wife definitely is. Hi, it's been a couple hours and I took a nap, but I'm ready to get into the next story. Am I the asshole for asking my parents not to bring alcohol to my apartment? My parents live on another continent, so I don't get to see them very often. Usually once for Christmas, and maybe another 1 or 2 times depending on my schedules. My parents are visiting for the weekend because it's my birthday. They'll be staying at my apartment for 3 days. My mom has always had a problem with alcohol. We've never outright called her an alcoholic, but that's basically it. The last time she stayed with me, she hid her bottle of vodka and drank 3/4 of it within a few days. When I confronted her about it, the fact that she was clearly drunk and drinking, she apologized and said she wouldn't do it again, but in the classic cycle, denied everything once sober. I took a video though and showed it to her, and she said she would get her drinking under control. I told her she needs to stop fully, but I can't do anything about that. My dad tells me she's only been drinking on weekends and not that much, but to be honest, I don't know how much I trust his assessment. I reiterated my general rule of not wanting alcohol at my apartment to my mom the other day. I tell her this every time she visits and pretty much every time we fight about it. This This time, my dad texted me before their fight saying, if you don't want alcohol at yours, shall we stay somewhere else? This is from the man that barely agreed to visit me because of the cost of the flight. My parents are visiting my brother as well, so the flights they're referring to here are an hour long and generally not that expensive. I told him I'd like them to stay with me. I got some of their favorite non-alcoholic drinks. He asked why, and I told him I found having alcohol around is stressful. He then pushed and asked why. At this point, I'm stumped. I think he's just trying to set up to argue, but I truly don't understand what they even want from me at this point. They're both aware of why. They're both aware my mom's drinking is a problem. At this point, I feel like they're going to book into a hotel and spend my entire birthday either drinking regardless of what I've said or complaining because I won't let them. At this point, I feel like I'm losing the plot on what a reasonable boundary is because shit like this keeps happening. Am I the asshole? No. You're not the asshole. The thing that I've always found really interesting is when you're in a weird dynamic with your parents as a young person, when the shoe is on the other foot, how that relationship looks. When they're coming to your home and staying in your house, do they respect your boundaries the way that you had to respect theirs? Obviously, in this case, it is a very big issue for them to respect a very reasonable boundary. If you have issues with your mother drinking in your house, I feel like it's not a problem for you to ask her to be sober on your birthday, for your birthday, when they're staying with you. Let's see what the comments say. As per usual, I'm sure they'll agree with me, but who knows? This one, it's very logical. And I don't know if I'm mature enough to have this conversation. Someone said, not the asshole. If your mom is drinking a fourth a bottle of vodka at night, it may not be medically safe for her to just stop. Alcohol withdrawal can be very dangerous, but you shouldn't have to deal with her drinking. Probably best they don't stay at your house. I don't think I'm mature enough to have this conversation because I would just want my mom to stop drinking for 3 days for my birthday. But as this commenter says, it may not be medically safe, and that's just really not how stopping alcoholism works, which is why there are so many programs around that, because it does take a lot of steps. And I have to be able to understand that in this case to kind of see it better, even though OP has their right to be emotionally involved in this because it is their mother. As a bystander, I have to be able to understand everything that's going into this situation. Someone says, just say it's because you don't like it. Most parents are familiar with my house, my rules, but then you have to mean it, even if it means they get mad at you. Boundaries only work if you reinforce them. Someone says, not the asshole, but you need to start being honest with your dad. Honestly, I think mom has a drinking problem, and it makes me extremely uncomfortable and worried for her. I love her, but I would prefer being around her when she is sober. If she can't handle not drinking for a few days, then she obviously has a problem. That being said, you can't stop them from getting a hotel and drinking there. Your mom is an adult and can make her own choices, but voicing your opinion from a place of love and concern might help to open some eyes. I do agree with that. And I really like how this commenter puts in there that you really can't control if they do not want to stay with you because they do want to continue drinking. And I do think that is a problem. It needs to be said that the mother has a drinking problem, because if everyone is just sweeping it under the rug, you're not going to make any progress in helping your mom. Someone says, not the asshole, but you should tell them not to stay with you. Your boundaries aren't firm because you know they will bring alcohol and you still allow them to stay. If you want something to change, change something. And I didn't even think about it that way. You telling them, no, you cannot stay at my apartment because of the alcohol is letting them know that you're setting this boundary, and there is really nothing that they can do to break the boundary because you're standing firm. No, you're not the asshole, but if you do want something to change, you have to be the one to make a change. All right, let's get into the last story, shall we? Am I the asshole for demanding my uncle pay me back for the alcohol he drank? I, 21 female, received 2 very nice bottles of gin from my brothers for my birthday in July. When I came home for Christmas, I brought the gin with me as well as 1 other bottle I had bought myself because we were having family over and my parents didn't have alcohol in the house. I had 2 of the bottles, the nice ones, in the kitchen because my brothers came to visit and they each wanted a glass of the gin they had bought me. The other bottle was in my room, unopened. My uncle, 55 male, was staying with us for free, and he drank 3/4 of both of the nice bottles and then snuck into my room and drank all of the gin in my room. I caught him in my room drinking the gin there. I demanded that he pay me back the value of the gin he had drank, and I was very hurt that he drank the gin that was given to me as a gift for my brothers and was very expensive. He knew it was mine and was a gift for my brothers because I told him about them and showed him the bottle when my brothers and I had some, as well as the invasion of privacy that comes from sneaking into my room without permission. However, my uncle and aunt are having money problems. My mom had to pay for them to fly to us for the holidays and has paid for everything else for them, otherwise they wouldn't have been able to come. My parents think I should just drop the issue because my uncle doesn't have the money to pay me back and because he has a drinking problem. I think that he still has to face the consequences of his actions. He is now refusing to speak to me after I asked for the money. So am I the asshole? No, you're not the asshole, and he is really the asshole for ghosting you after you asked for your money back. Having a drinking problem does not excuse you from ruining your relationships to your loved ones. In fact, a lot of people who struggle with alcoholism see and experience that huge problem, that the reason why the alcohol is becoming an issue is because it's affecting your relationship with your loved ones, your work, your personal life. You're not doing anything but drinking. And in this case, after he knew that you had been gifted these 2 bottles from your brothers, a very expensive alcohol, he put his alcoholism over his relationship with you and decided to drink them anyway. And now he doesn't care. Hi, this is Editing Mars, and I just wanted to say that I definitely did not mean to say that he doesn't care. I feel like probably what he's feeling is maybe shame about it. I definitely can see him feeling ashamed that he is unable to pay you back because he has money problems. I will talk about it later in the video, how alcoholism and money problems kind of go hand in hand. So yeah, I wouldn't say that if one of your loved ones struggling with addiction, whether that be alcohol or pills, ghost you because they don't care about you or because they don't love you, but shame is a really big contender for the reason why people do not respond to criticism about addiction. That's all I had to say. Back to the video. He may be embarrassed and it may be a really big issue, but that does not mean that you don't take accountability for your actions. Anyway, let's see what the comments say. Someone says, not the asshole. He deliberately took extra steps to steal from you. Does he have alcohol as well as money problems? Someone responds to that saying, I think the money problems may well be related to the alcohol problems, as he apparently drank close to $75 to $80 worth of gin in the few days he was there. Someone responds to them saying, addiction and financial problems usually go hand in hand. That's really unfortunate, and as someone who likes to drink, I do recognize how expensive alcohol is. So I can't imagine if you're going through hard liquor, which can cost from $30 a bottle to really hundreds of dollars. The expensive ones can be $200 to $300 every single day, or maybe every 3 days, and there's 7 days in a week. So that could be anywhere from $60 to $70 a week on alcohol to hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Someone else comments, not the asshole. He at least owes you the bottle you had in your room. For the other bottles, you could argue they were out in the open for anyone to drink. That being said, realistically, you're not going to see a penny. He doesn't have the money, and he has already showed his willingness to avoid you because of it. Someone responds to that saying, I mean, one could argue the point that liquor in public is for anyone, but I'd also argue anyone who does make that argument is at best an entitled jerk. Even my best friend's house or in-laws' house, I would not pour myself a drink uninvited, especially liquor I knew was special. This uncle is an addict and an asshole, but not an asshole because he's an addict. Addiction sucks, I've been there, but it's not an excuse or get out of consequences free card for shit behavior. OP is not the asshole, and the uncle needs to start making genuine apologies and stop drinking his life into ruin and get some help. I couldn't agree with that more, honestly. Because you're an alcoholic, that doesn't make you an asshole. It's really your actions. That really goes for anything. Because you're gay, because you're black, because you're young, because you're old, like whatever the reason is, alcoholic, pothead, whatever the reason, your circumstance should not make you an asshole. You can get help for that. And I really strongly suggest that if you have anybody in your life that you may be worried about for any reason, especially when it comes to like alcoholism and mental health, I definitely think you should reach out to the people in your area that could help the most. I really should look up these things, and that would be good to be in these videos just because I do care about that. Well, anyway, thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. I hope you enjoyed the stories. Comment down below what topics you want to hear about, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye!